Welcome to Conspiracy Theories and Cover-Ups. I'm your host, Ben Carter, and in today's episode, we're examining one of the most chilling and controversial theories in the world of modern astronomy and doomsday speculation, the mystery of Nibiru, also known as Planet X. Rumoured to be a rogue planet on a hidden path through our solar system, some believe its approach could bring global catastrophe, and that governments are hiding the truth to avoid mass panic.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Hey, it's Paris. You know I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and AutoCamp, I just slept under them. Picture me, serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
The roots of the Nibiru conspiracy stretch back to the early 20th century, when astronomers noticed irregularities in the orbits of Uranus and Neptune. Some theorized these anomalies could be explained by the gravitational pull of a yet undiscovered massive planet lurking beyond Pluto. This hypothetical object came to be known as Planet X. Though initial searches yielded nothing definitive, the concept of a hidden planetary body remained in the scientific imagination. Over time, this idea merged with more speculative interpretations, eventually giving rise to the Nibiru narrative. The term Nibiru itself originates not from modern astronomy, but from ancient Mesopotamian texts. In Babylonian cosmology, Nibiru referred to a celestial body associated with the god Marduk, often described as a wandering star or planet with a transformative cosmic role. In the late 20th century, these ancient references were reinterpreted by author Zecharia Sitchin, whose controversial translations of Sumerian tablets claimed that Nibiru was a real planet, home to a technologically advanced race known as the Anunnaki. According to Sitchin, this planet follows an elongated elliptical orbit, swinging into Earth's vicinity every 3,600 years. Sitchin's books, starting with The 12th Planet, published in 1976, wove together mythology, ancient history, and fringe science to propose that humanity was genetically engineered by these extraterrestrial visitors. While widely dismissed by scholars, his work gained a cult following and formed the backbone of the modern Nibiru conspiracy. Importantly, Sitchin never predicted that Nibiru would collide with Earth or cause a catastrophe in the near future. That idea would emerge decades later. The turning point came in the late 1990s and early 2000s, when internet forums and conspiracy websites began to reinterpret Sitchin's work through a doomsday lens. A particularly influential figure in this transformation was Nancy Lieder, a self-proclaimed contactee who claimed to receive messages from aliens in the Zeta Reticuli star system. In 1995, Lieder warned that a massive planet, she called it Planet X, would pass close to Earth, triggering a pole shift and widespread destruction. She initially pegged the event to occur in 2003. Despite the date coming and going without incident, the theory didn't die, it evolved. Lieder's predictions merged with growing public concern over global instability, natural disasters, and government secrecy. The year 2012, with its associations with the Mayan calendar and popular apocalypse scenarios, reignited fear about Nibiru, which was now fully cemented as a planet on a hidden trajectory toward Earth. NASA, astronomers, and scientists repeatedly debunked these claims, but each denial seemed only to fuel the fire. By this time, the internet had become a fertile ground for Nibiru's spread. YouTube videos, forum threads, and even mainstream news outlets occasionally picked up on the phenomenon, often to mock it, but always amplifying it. The blend of ancient myth, scientific mystery, and apocalyptic imagery created the perfect storm for a modern conspiracy theory. And even as the specifics of dates and claims changed over the years, the core fear remained the same: that something massive and hidden is out there, and heading our way. Central to the rise and endurance of the Nibiru conspiracy are a few key figures whose claims and writings have kept the theory alive, often shifting it from one incarnation to another. Among them, Nancy Leader stands out as one of the most influential. Her website Zeta Talk, launched in the mid-1990s, became a central hub for followers of the Planet X narrative. Leader claimed to be in telepathic contact with extraterrestrials known as the Zetas, who warned her of Earth's impending doom due to the close passage of a massive celestial object. Her announcement that Planet X would pass near Earth in 2003 sent ripples through the early internet, spurring doomsday preparation communities and countless message boards filled with speculation and fear. Leader's vivid descriptions of societal collapse, magnetic pole shifts, and global cataclysms captured the imagination of a growing online audience. She encouraged people to leave coastal areas, abandon technology, and prepare for life off the grid. While the date came and went without the predicted disaster, her failure to accurately forecast the event didn't discredit her in the eyes of many believers. Instead, she recalibrated the timeline, offering new explanations for why the disaster had been delayed. The narrative evolved, and the belief system hardened. Another key figure who shaped the modern discourse around Nibiru is Zecharia Sitchin, though his role is more indirect. While he never predicted a planetary collision or apocalypse, his reimagining of ancient Mesopotamian texts laid the mythological groundwork for the theory. His version of Nibiru was not a destroyer, but a distant, mysterious home to the Anunnaki, who allegedly came to Earth thousands of years ago to mine gold and manipulate early human genetics. His books, filled with references to cylinder seals and ancient texts, were dismissed by academics but embraced by a segment of readers fascinated by the intersection of ancient aliens, archaeology, and biblical reinterpretation. The Nibiru narrative took on new dimensions as others built upon Leader's and Sitchin's frameworks. Mark Hazelwood, author of Blindsided Planet X Passes in 2003, was one of several who took Leader's claims and repackaged them with added urgency, appealing to survivalists and conspiracy theorists alike. His book outlined supposed government cover-ups and evidence from amateur astronomers, reinforcing the idea that an official acknowledgement of Nibiru's existence was being deliberately suppressed. In parallel, videos began surfacing online. Some showing lens flares or artifacts from camera optics claimed to be visual proof of Nibiru lurking near the sun. Others pointed to astronomical anomalies, volcanic upticks, and strange weather patterns as indirect evidence of the planet's approach. These online creators became central figures in spreading the theory, shaping it into a viral phenomenon that transcended scientific discourse and entered pop culture. Together, these individuals created a feedback loop. Each new claim or video inspired others to contribute their own sightings, interpretations, and predictions. The narrative became less about evidence and more about belief, anchored in distrust of authority, fascination with forbidden knowledge, and fear of an unseen force hurtling through space toward an unsuspecting world. At the core of the Nibiru conspiracy are several recurring pieces of supposed evidence that believers cite as proof of the planet's existence and imminent arrival. Chief among these is the idea that Nibiru has already been observed by both professional astronomers and amateur skywatchers, and that photographic proof has been captured, but either dismissed or actively covered up. These claims often involve videos or images showing a second sun-like object near the horizon, usually captured during sunrise or sunset. In most cases, these are the result of lens flares, internal camera reflections, or optical illusions, but in conspiracy circles they're framed as undeniable glimpses of Planet X. Another popular claim involves gravitational anomalies. Proponents point to the unusual orbits of certain trans-Neptunian objects, such as Sedna, Eris, and others, as being influenced by a massive unseen body far beyond Pluto. This theory gained traction in 2016 when astronomers Konstantin Batygin and Mike Brown from Caltech published research proposing the existence of a hypothetical ninth planet based on observed orbital patterns. While their Planet 9 is a far cry from the doomsday version of Nibiru, Conspiracy theorists immediately latched onto the headlines, claiming this was belated validation of what they had been saying all along. Weather disturbances and geological activity are also routinely cited as indirect evidence of Nibiru's approach. Massive earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, tsunamis, and dramatic shifts in weather patterns are framed not as natural or climate-related events, but as the early warning signs of a celestial body disturbing Earth's magnetic and gravitational fields. The idea is that Nibiru's gravitational pull is already influencing our planet, even from great distances, subtly preparing the stage for catastrophic realignment when it draws closer. Beyond the physical signs, conspiracy theorists often claim that global elites and government agencies are fully aware of Nibiru's existence and are actively working to keep the public in the dark. This idea hinges on the belief that widespread knowledge of an impending planetary disaster would lead to chaos, panic, and social collapse. Supporters of this view argue that elite preparations, such as the construction of underground bunkers, doomsday seed vaults, and the secretive behavior of powerful institutions, are part of a broader plan to ensure their own survival while the masses are left unprepared. One often cited piece of evidence is the alleged cover-up by NASA. Videos and articles claim that the space agency has edited images from space telescopes like SOHO and IRAS, selectively removing objects that could be Nibiru. A particularly enduring rumor states that IRAS, the infrared astronomical satellite launched in 1983, detected a mysterious heat-emitting body in the outer solar system. While the object was later identified as distant galaxies or dust clouds, conspiracy theorists continue to insist it was actually the first documented sighting of Planet X. The recurring theme in all these claims is secrecy, evidence interpreted through the lens of mistrust, coincidence viewed as confirmation, and science distorted to fit a narrative of hidden danger. The more official channels deny the theory, the more certain its believers seem to become. It's a closed loop of logic where doubt fuels conviction, and every contradiction only reinforces the belief that something is being concealed. The scrutiny of the alleged evidence surrounding Nibiru reveals a complex interplay between interpretation, misunderstanding, and deliberate manipulation. Many of the images circulated online, particularly those showing a supposed second sun or planet near the horizon, can be traced back to known optical phenomena. Lens flare, caused by the internal reflection of light within a camera lens, is a common occurrence in photography, especially when shooting toward bright sources like the sun. Despite this well-documented explanation, thousands of online posts interpret these anomalies as visual proof of Nibiru's presence. Even when professional photographers or scientists explain the mechanisms behind these effects, conspiracy theorists often dismiss such explanations as part of the cover-up. One of the most enduring claims centers on the 1983 IRAS satellite, which did detect several unknown infrared sources in deep space. Initially described in a Washington Post article as potentially as large as Jupiter and possibly so close to Earth that it would be part of this solar system, the report caused a stir. However, follow-up studies revealed that the objects were distant galaxies and not planetary bodies. Still, for conspiracy theorists, the initial speculation was enough to validate the idea that something massive was out there, and that authorities had quickly moved to suppress the truth. This pattern of selective citation, where preliminary or misunderstood findings are amplified while corrections are ignored, has fueled much of the ongoing belief. The claims surrounding orbital anomalies, particularly the motion of objects in the Kuiper belt, require more nuanced examination. Astronomers like Batygin and Brown proposed the existence of Planet 9 not as a destructive force, but as a stabilizing influence explaining the clustering of orbits among distant celestial bodies. Their hypothesis was grounded in mathematics and simulations, not eyewitness sightings. However, this announcement was quickly absorbed into Nibiru lore. In conspiracy circles, Planet 9 and Nibiru became interchangeable, even though one is a scientific theory still being tested, and the other a speculative doomsday planet with no empirical foundation. Another cornerstone of the Nibiru narrative is the claim that elite organizations are building underground facilities in anticipation of a global catastrophe. This belief draws heavily on real-world structures like the Cheyenne Mountain Complex in Colorado, the Svalbard Global Seed Vault in Norway, and alleged government bunkers beneath Denver International Airport. While these installations serve legitimate strategic or preservation purposes, they are frequently cited as evidence that powerful figures are preparing for a Nibiru-related apocalypse. Yet no direct link between these facilities and any planetary threat has ever been substantiated. Furthermore, the narrative often misinterprets solar activity and seismic data. Increases in solar flares, earthquakes, or volcanic eruptions are presented as signs of Nibiru's gravitational interference. However, such natural cycles have been occurring for millennia, and scientists consistently attribute them to terrestrial processes or solar cycles. The recontextualization of unrelated phenomena to support the theory underscores the selective logic at play. Confirmation bias drives believers to see patterns where none exist. This distortion of scientific information and repurposing of misunderstood data highlights a broader distrust in institutional knowledge. In the world of Nibiru, official denial is not a rebuttal. It is seen as proof of the conspiracy itself. Every effort to debunk the theory, no matter how well supported, is framed as part of a massive effort to suppress the truth.
This message is sponsored by Greenlight. With school out, summer is the perfect time to teach our kids real-world money skills they'll use forever. Greenlight is a debit card and the #1 family finance and safety app used by millions of families, helping kids learn how to save, invest, and spend wisely. Parents can send their kids money and track their spending and saving, while kids build money confidence and skills in fun ways. Start your risk-free Greenlight trial today at greenlight.com/Spotify. That's greenlight.com/Spotify.
How do you top your love for your cat? With a cascade of decadent, savory gravy over a mouth-watering mousse pâté. Fancy Feast gems. 2 gourmet pâtés in 1 convenient pack. Simply peel and plate to reveal a pyramid shape that makes eating delightful and pamper her with an experience as extraordinary as she is. Turn the everyday into the extraordinary with Fancy Feast gems.
Despite the persistence of the Nibiru theory in certain circles, the scientific community has been unambiguous in its response. Astronomers, astrophysicists, and space agencies worldwide have consistently stated that there is no credible evidence of a rogue planet on a collision course with Earth. NASA, in particular, has addressed the theory multiple times over the past 2 decades, issuing clear public statements to dispel the rumors. In a 2012 release, Time to Address the Apocalyptic Predictions linked to the Mayan calendar, NASA declared that Nibiru did not exist, and that if such a planet were on a path to Earth, it would have already been visible to astronomers and the general public. Skeptics argue that many of the assumptions driving belief in Nibiru rely on a fundamental misunderstanding of astronomy and orbital mechanics. The notion that a massive planetary body could enter the inner solar system undetected contradicts centuries of observational data and the fundamental principles of gravity and motion. Modern telescopes, both ground-based and spaceborne, constantly scan the skies. Any object of Nibiru's proposed size would have been identified long before it posed any threat. In addition to empirical rebuttals, skeptics point to the repeated failures of predictions as evidence of the theory's unreliability. Nancy Lieder's original 2003 prophecy failed to materialize. Subsequent predictions tied to 2012, 2017 and other dates have similarly passed without incident. These failed forecasts mirror patterns seen in other doomsday movements, where each unfulfilled prophecy is followed by revised timelines or rationalizations rather than a retraction of belief. Critics see this as a hallmark of pseudoscience, beliefs that persist despite repeated disconfirmation. Another major point of skepticism involves the sources of evidence themselves. Much of the proof circulating online originates from videos with no scientific basis, photographs misinterpreted by untrained observers, or articles posted on websites known for sensationalism and conspiracy content. When credible astronomers or professionals weigh in, their voices are often drowned out or dismissed as being part of the alleged cover-up. In this sense, the Nibiru theory operates within a closed system of belief, resistant to external critique. Some psychologists have suggested that belief in Nibiru, like other doomsday scenarios, fulfills certain emotional or cognitive needs. Apocalyptic thinking offers a sense of order in a chaotic world, projecting anxieties about war, climate change, or economic instability onto a cosmic threat. The idea that governments and elites are hiding the truth reinforces existing fears about power, secrecy, and control. For many, the belief becomes less about astronomy and more about a broader worldview of distrust and disillusionment. Furthermore, the evolution of the internet has played a role in entrenching these beliefs. Algorithms on platforms like YouTube and Facebook have been known to funnel users toward increasingly fringe content, creating echo chambers where conspiracies like Nibiru flourish unchecked. Efforts by scientists to correct misinformation often fail to reach these audiences, who may already distrust mainstream sources. The result is a persistent divide between expert knowledge and popular belief, a chasm that grows wider with each unchallenged viral video or misinterpreted image. The cultural resonance of the Nibiru conspiracy goes far beyond astronomy or doomsday predictions. It taps into deeper fears about control, knowledge, and survival. At its core, the theory reflects a widespread unease with how information is managed and how truth is defined in the modern world. It reveals how, in the absence of trust in institutions, people are drawn to alternative explanations that often mirror their deepest anxieties. The idea of a hidden planet capable of wiping out civilization speaks not only to fear of the unknown, but to a growing belief that what we don't know could be the very thing that destroys us. The concept of an invisible threat approaching from beyond the reaches of the visible world has strong psychological power. Whether it's an asteroid, an alien invasion, or an undiscovered planet, these fears draw from archetypal ideas deeply embedded in human consciousness. The sky has always been a place of mystery and awe. When danger is imagined to come from above, it feels both ancient and immediate. This primal fear is magnified in an era of rapid technological change, political instability, and ecological uncertainty. Nibiru becomes a symbol of collapse, not just of civilization, but of the illusion of safety. At the same time, belief in Nibiru offers something that many people feel is lacking in modern life: purpose. In a world dominated by institutions, algorithms, and faceless bureaucracies, the idea that a cosmic secret is being kept from the public gives individuals a sense of agency. To know about Nibiru is, in some circles, to be awakened, to possess forbidden knowledge that places one outside the herd. The theory becomes a kind of spiritual resistance against the mainstream narrative, an identity grounded in skepticism and survivalism. This sense of outsider knowledge is often reinforced through tight-knit online communities, where information is not merely shared but affirmed. Believers post evidence, offer dates for the next supposed encounter, and share preparation strategies for surviving the coming cataclysm. In these digital echo chambers, doubt is framed as weakness and dissent as infiltration. As with other conspiracies, the more a claim is ridiculed or denied by outside sources, the more it is validated within the community. The belief system becomes self-reinforcing, impervious to contradiction. The psychological toll of such beliefs can be significant. Some adherents of the Nibiru theory have reported feelings of hopelessness, paranoia, or isolation, particularly as new predicted dates come and go without event. For others, it has reshaped life decisions. People have sold homes, quit jobs, or relocated based on forecasts of Nibiru's arrival. While some eventually walk away from the belief, others double down, convinced that the next warning will be the real one. The broader implication is that belief in Nibiru, like many apocalyptic narratives, serves as a mirror. It reflects a society wrestling with distrust, overwhelmed by information, and vulnerable to existential dread. The planet may not exist, but the fear it represents is very real, shaped by the same forces that have eroded public trust in science, government, and the media. In this way, Nibiru is not just a theory, it's a cultural symptom. The influence of the Nibiru conspiracy extends beyond online forums and fringe websites, having quietly woven itself into mainstream media narratives, pop culture, and public discourse. While few credible institutions endorse the theory, its themes have been echoed in countless films, television shows, books, and even news segments. sometimes as satire, sometimes with unsettling sincerity. This exposure, whether intentional or not, has helped to normalize the underlying idea that something catastrophic and hidden may be approaching, and that we are unprepared for it. Movies like Melancholia, Deep Impact, and Don't Look Up tap into the same existential dread that fuels Nibiru beliefs, the idea of a world-ending object silently making its way toward Earth, while authorities downplay or suppress the truth. These films may not mention Nibiru directly, but they echo its emotional resonance. The motifs are consistent: denial, secrecy, elite survival planning, and mass vulnerability. Fiction becomes fertile ground for reality to be reinterpreted, blurring the lines between speculative storytelling and conspiratorial belief. Media coverage, even when dismissive, has often played a role in amplifying the conspiracy. Mainstream outlets have occasionally featured the theory in segments meant to debunk or mock it, but these efforts have often backfired. In giving attention to the idea, no matter how critical, such coverage inadvertently grants it visibility and legitimacy in the eyes of some viewers. Sensational headlines or clickbait thumbnails promising the truth about Planet X draw in the curious, many of whom then encounter more extreme interpretations once inside the digital rabbit hole. Social media platforms have only intensified this dynamic. Algorithms designed to maximize engagement tend to reward emotional content, fear, outrage, and awe, making conspiracy content highly shareable. Videos purporting to show footage of Nibiru, even when debunked, can receive millions of views. Once a user engages with that type of content, they're more likely to be recommended similar material, creating a self-perpetuating cycle. This has allowed theories like Nibiru to survive despite repeated factual refutations, sustained by viral momentum and emotional impact rather than evidence. Even outside of obvious conspiracy spaces, subtle references to Nibiru have appeared in discussions about astronomical discoveries, climate change, and geopolitical instability. The language of hidden threats and suppressed truths often overlaps with other narratives that dominate contemporary media. This convergence allows the Nibiru theory to remain culturally relevant, reappearing in different forms depending on the context, sometimes as a planetary menace, other times as a metaphor for systemic collapse or elite deception. The result is a conspiracy that exists in layers. At the core is the specific belief in a rogue planet. Surrounding it are broader themes of distrust, secrecy, and fear of annihilation. These layers ensure that even as belief in Nibiru waxes and wanes, its essence persists, morphing with each new crisis or scientific announcement. In the media ecosystem, it thrives not because it's true, but because it taps into something deeper, the unease that comes from not knowing who to trust or what's truly on the horizon. Beyond the widely circulated claims and debunked predictions, the Nibiru conspiracy has spawned a network of more fringe and speculative theories, variations that stretch the idea into even more bizarre and imaginative territory. In these versions, Nibiru is not merely a rogue planet but a sentient entity, a disguised spacecraft, or even a harbinger of spiritual transformation. These interpretations often blend science fiction with esotericism, creating a hybrid belief system that transcends traditional conspiracy theory and enters the realm of myth. One of the more fringe perspectives suggests that Nibiru is not a planet at all, but a massive artificial construct, perhaps a mothership cloaked in planetary disguise, carrying an alien species either watching over humanity or preparing for a mass reset. In this view, Nibiru is a vehicle of judgment, arriving at pivotal moments in Earth's timeline to correct the trajectory of civilization. Believers in this theory sometimes reference ancient accounts of gods descending from the heavens as metaphorical descriptions of these encounters. They argue that the planet's elliptical orbit is evidence not of natural mechanics, but of deliberate, intelligent design. Others tie the Nibiru mythos to spiritual awakening and ascension. In these interpretations, the planet's passage is said to trigger a vibrational shift on Earth, altering human consciousness and unlocking dormant abilities. This narrative borrows heavily from New Age ideologies, suggesting that only those attuned to higher frequencies will survive or ascend to a new plane of existence. Here, Nibiru functions less as a destroyer and more as a cosmic gatekeeper, selecting who is spiritually prepared to move forward and who is not. These theories often reframe catastrophe not as punishment, but as evolution. Some even link Nibiru to biblical prophecy, identifying it with the wormwood star described in the Book of Revelation, said to bring destruction upon a third of the waters and herald the end times. This theological angle gives the theory an apocalyptic flavor that appeals to those who view current global events through a religious lens. According to this interpretation, Nibiru is divine retribution, an instrument of cosmic justice long foretold and now approaching fulfillment. There are also claims that the planet is already influencing humanity, not through gravity or magnetism, but through psychological manipulation. In these scenarios, Nibiru's presence is said to cause dreams, visions, or a pervasive sense of unease. Some individuals report experiencing a spiritual calling linked to Nibiru, claiming they've been chosen to warn others or prepare for the coming transformation. The line between prophecy and delusion often blurs in these accounts, but the emotional conviction remains strong. These fringe offshoots demonstrate how the Nibiru narrative has become a malleable mythos, capable of absorbing elements from UFO lore, religious prophecy, quantum mysticism, and psychological phenomena. What began as a pseudoscientific theory has evolved into a cultural archetype, reshaped by the imagination of its believers. In this sense, Nibiru functions not just as a hidden planet, but as a symbolic vessel, carrying the collective fears, hopes, and fantasies of a world seeking answers in the sky. The story of Nibiru, whether viewed as a rogue planet, a prophetic symbol, or an elaborate fiction, reveals far more about human psychology and society than it does about the cosmos. Its persistence, despite overwhelming scientific refutation, underscores the deep hunger for meaning in an age of uncertainty. It thrives in the space between fear and fascination, fueled by distrust in authority, the allure of hidden knowledge, and a growing sense that the world is on the brink of something irreversible. Whether approached as a literal belief or a metaphorical reflection, the Nibiru phenomenon exposes cracks in our cultural foundation, places where logic gives way to intuition and data is no match for dread. The theory has endured not because of its evidence, but because of its narrative power. It offers a simple yet emotionally resonant story. A massive, mysterious object is on a hidden path toward Earth, ignored or suppressed by those in power, with consequences too vast to comprehend. It's the ultimate outsider's myth, one that affirms the suspicions of those who feel excluded from official narratives and who crave a unifying explanation for the chaos they see around them. In Nibiru, they find a vessel to carry all their uncertainties: geopolitical tensions, environmental collapse, technological disruption, and existential dread. And yet this same theory has fractured and evolved over time, splitting into sub-narratives that cater to different worldviews. For some, Nibiru is punishment, a long-delayed reckoning for humanity's moral and ecological failures. For others, it's salvation, ushering in a transformation, a spiritual reset, or even a higher dimensional awakening. In this way, it functions more like a modern myth than a single coherent hypothesis. It adapts, persists, and spreads not through validation, but through emotional resonance. In the end, Nibiru may never be observed through a telescope or captured by a satellite, because it was never really a celestial object to begin with, not in the way it's often described. It is, instead, a reflection, a dark mirror held up to our age of disinformation and unease. It reflects our distrust of institutions, our fragmented understanding of science, and our enduring belief that the truth is always just out of reach. It reflects our fear of being left in the dark, literally and figuratively, when the sky begins to fall. And that may be the most haunting part of the Nibiru story. Not that a hidden planet is real, but that the need to believe in one is. It's a need born from uncertainty, cultivated by isolation, and reinforced by a digital world where any theory, no matter how implausible, can find a home and an audience. In that space, Nibiru remains alive, not as a planet, but as a symbol, a cosmic ghost conjured from pixels and paranoia, orbiting the edge of belief. Thanks for listening. This has been another episode of Conspiracy Theories and Cover-Ups. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow us wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you'd like to support the show, subscribe to Conspiracy Theories Podcast on Spotify. Subscribe now.